Hello, beautiful witches. Welcome to Successful Witches, our podcast for indie romance lovers and writers, where we are absolutely obsessed with spice, smut, and happily ever afters. This is our beautiful, beautiful After Dark segment that we do each week, where my wonderful, incredible, dear friend and fellow smutty book witch, Nicole Middleton, comes along and joins us behind the microphone. And we basically just rave at you and rant at you about our favorite books that we've been reading. Welcome, Nicole.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. And we have a deliciously spicy episode to share with our dear listeners and watchers this week. Basically, let's just say that our chat has been very, very, very steamy.
It's on fire.
It has been on fire. The emojis have been heavily utilized. The fanning,
molten lava.
The fanning oneself gifts have been pulled out in force. Prepare yourself. I think as I previewed in
that's what you need to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Prepare. No, I'm being serious. Prepare yourself.
In the lead up to this episode, I think my way of summing it up for you all is charge your vibe, besties, because this is a book that is going to
just get multiple sets of batteries.
This is an episode that is going to do things for you, or a book that is going to do things for you. So without further ado, our book that we are bringing to you this week as our steamy read is a Mafia romance by the one and only J.T. Geissinger, and it is Ruthless Creatures, book 1 in the Queens and Monsters series. And holy fucking shit, Nicole, what do we say?
What did we decide? It's no longer Sweet Christ, it's Christ on crack.
This book, this goddamn fucking book.
Thank you, Leza, for that beautiful phrase, Christ on crack. It's 100% not Sweet Christ any longer.
No,
we have passed that.
We have progressed from our wonderful Chrisley Cole episode where Sweet Christ was the phrase of the day, and we are now into
Christ on crack
romance. Possessive, morally grey, male main character to have your knees weak and your thighs
tattooed from head to toe. I think she uses the word, and the way she describes him as well, as like just a big man, the way he fits through doors. And just like, what did he mention? She mentioned his paw of a hand when they shake hands or something.
So before we get too far into already swooning, it feels a little bit apt.
I'm getting my head off.
It feels a little bit apt that we have started talking about him without even discussing who he is.
We haven't even said his name.
This is kind of the whole point of the story, right? Like, this is we've just done exactly what Natalie, our female main character, does within the book, where basically you're so enamored by this mountain of a man that is all you can talk about or focus on.
Yeah, he has taken every part of my brain. There's no space left.
There is no
I do not think about anything else.
Nothing but Cage. Nothing but Cage. With a K, because Cage, of course, with a K. Would you like to start us off with a bit of a book recap? I think this is going to be chaotic as fuck, because you and I basically have been chaotic as fuck in our WhatsApp chat with each other, going backwards and forwards about this book.
We're going to go all over the place, but you're going to love it.
It's scrambled both of our brains in the best way. So you'll get to enjoy that with this book recap. Let's start with your take on things, Nicole.
Yeah.
Where do we set our scene?
We're going to set our scene with a very sad human, and she's sad. She's very sad. Natalie. And you can
Natalie, our main character, is not in a good place.
She's a sad human. She's not in a good place. her fiance died 5 years ago, and
Well,
she's just
asterisk that point.
asterisk that point. Yes,
Disappeared, presumed dead, or legally declared dead.
legally declared dead.
Yeah.
5 years in, where are they? California. I forget those
Some
details.
lake,
Logistics. I'm like
small,
thinking
we're in some small town lake kind of
Tahoe.
yeah,
Tahoe.
we're in some sort of small town lake environment with lots of fancy houses on the lakefront in America
Yeah,
somewhere.
small town
As
vibes,
you
and
can
she's
tell,
sad.
neither of us live in America, so these details are irrelevant at this stage.
Yeah, it's that kind of a vibe. And we enter where Natalie is drowning her sorrows once again for, I think, the fourth or fifth year in a row. I think this is the fifth year in a row.
Yeah.
And every year she gets drunk on around the same date, which would have been her wedding day. She cannot have a wedding because her fiance went missing, and she's a very sad human. Now, we get into this book with, first of all, I just want to have a moment here. Even though it's sad, it is hysterically funny. The way JT Geissinger writes this is just so on point. So we dive into her emotion, which you can just properly feel where she's at. You've got feels for her. You're like, this poor girl. I can see myself, where I can put myself in her shoes, and it's tragic and it's heartbreaking. And also it's fucking funny because she's having a description of this freaking oven, and I was in hysterics. Let me just find it, because
Nicole was screenshotting and sending me excerpts from the chapter about, I think Natalie's trying to bake something, I think. And she's
just like, this fucking oven is possessed. And I've lost it now.
That resonated so much for you and I, because neither you or I are particularly big kitchen.
Yeah.
Or would we say neither you or I are particularly fond of spending time in the kitchen?
No. And if I do, I mean, I will admit, don't tell anyone, but I will admit that I think since I've been with Duran, which is about 10 years now, I think in the first year that I was with him, I almost burnt down the house about 3 times. And I had a great oven. It was not the oven's fault. But with Natalie, it was the oven's fault. But the way she was describing it was like from the 60s. And she's like, this stupid oven, it's like it's possessed. But the way she writes it is just absolutely phenomenal. So we're feeling her sadness. She's trying to bake the freaking cookies, and the cookies are not coming out. They're coming out burnt as a crisp, and this fucking oven's possessed. And I'm just like, I just love this writing. So I want to just make a point on that. It's absolutely fantastic the way she weaves this humor in. And this is one of the reasons why I think I just love this book, is because you can read all of these real intense emotions. You can feel what these characters are feeling, whether it be hot and heavy or depressed. Like, you can really get into it. But there's this thread of humor throughout the entire book, and it's just chef's kiss. Oh, like, I think it's Natalie's sarcasm and the way her mind works it's just perfect for me. So even if she doesn't have that out loud towards the end of the book, where she literally comes out of her shell and like has a little awakening throughout the book, in the beginning she's saying all of this inside her head. If she's a little bit more palatable in the beginning and she comes out of her shell, she's still saying it for the reader, and it's fucking gold, and I just absolutely love it. So
we get to see the inner working of Natalie, because she is a sort of like primary school art teacher, I think, isn't it? Like, I think even somebody kind of tries to wind her up at the start of the book and tells her that she pretty much just teaches finger painting to little kids. And she's like, oh, I'm a like qualified art teacher, you know, like I have, you know, I am qualified in what I do, and I'm very, very good at what I do, and I'm an artist as well. And so she's got all this depth to her, but basically through her circumstances of being in this marriage that then obviously her husband to be disappeared the night before her wedding, she's gone into her shell, and she's basically dated but hasn't been having any sex
surface level
other than using her vibe at home. She's been taking care of her own needs. And she's just kind of been in this very bland, colorless existence because her whole life has been on pause. She hasn't been able to do anything. She hasn't been able to move on. And so in comes Sloane, who is fucking fantastic and is Natalie's BFF since forever. They grew up together. They were little girls together. They're basically sisters. She loves her more than anything in this world. And Sloane is a fucking masterpiece of a character, I just have to say.
Just bow down.
JT Geissinger, like, you can write not only a fucking hot man,
but a hot woman,
but also a woman that will make you question certain things about yourself as well.
I'm not questioning at all.
Yeah, Nicole's like, where is the question?
There's no question mark, there's exclamation marks, multiple.
Yeah.
Exclamation marks.
There is just highlighted chapters.
I can't wait for Sloane's book. I'm like, yes, Sloane.
Yeah. So I've read the entire series. Nicole has only read book 1, so I have been relentlessly teasing Nicole about the fact Sloane's book in book 2, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in this episode.
We'll get to Sloane. I've got a quote here, which just takes you through the duality of this book, which I absolutely love. So, this is right in the beginning where she's describing how she's feeling around the date that she's on. So she's on a wedding day, or the day before her not soon to be, but was to be wedding day. And I love the way she just writes this, because it makes you feel like you're right there. And she says, fuck, I mutter again, slamming my palm against the countertop. I stare into my reflection and berate the man looking back for the lazy, crazy, broken piece of garbage he is. I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to spiral down again. I looked too goddamn long to pull myself out of it last time. And I've worked too fucking hard to keep this thing, this emotional parasite that gnaws and consumes and rots, hidden from everyone. Hang on. No.
Writing is just fucking epic. Like,
yeah,
that level of being able to describe emotion is just fucking brilliant, right?
It's like, just brilliant.
It's just brilliant. So we go from meeting Natalie when she's not in a good place. She's basically got plans to just get drunk at home and be on her own and be in her sweatpants or you know, whatever. And Sloane Bestie comes along and basically is like rams her off the rails and is like, no fucking way. Get dressed in like your hottest outfit. We are going out. We are like getting our tits out and we are going to get drunk at a bar and there is no stopping us, right? So she drags Natalie out of her hermit shell and insists on her coming to a bar. And lo and behold, at said bar is a mysterious stranger who has arrived. Mysterious stranger who has arrived in town that they've sort of caught wind of, haven't they, prior to arriving at this restaurant. And I think I don't know if you've got the quote there of like how they describe him when see him, but it's kind of a whole lot of references
he says
pirate, like member. It's just so fucking good.
They said, as soon as we're seated, Sloane leans across the table towards me and hisses, "Look, it's him." I glance around confused. Him who? She says, "The pirate sitting at the end of the bar." Epic scruff guy. I turn, crane my neck to see around the crowd. Which one? That's all I get before I spot him taking up a sizable portion of the bar and dwarfing the stool beneath him. The impressions come fast: broad shoulders, tousled dark hair, hard jawline that hasn't been acquainted with a razor in weeks, a black leather jacket paired with black jeans, and a pair of combat boots, all of which look somehow both expensive and battered. Carelessly worn, chunky silver rings decorate the thumb and middle fingers of his right hand. One is a kind of signet, the other is a skull. A pair of glasses hide his eyes. It strikes me as odd wearing sunglasses indoors, like he's got something to hide. She says, I'm not getting pirate as much as a rock star or head of a motorcycle gang. He looks like he stepped right off the Sons of Anarchy set. $10 says he's a drug dealer. And I'm like, as soon as she said Sons of Anarchy set, I was like, ooh, sister. Ooh, and then Sloane says, who cares? He could be Jack the Ripper and I'd still let him come all over my tits. Sloane. You did not say that.
You went there. You went there, girlfriend, and we fucking applaud you for it. And I love as well the way Sloane actually kind of is this great representation of almost like Natalie's alter ego, right? Like they're best friends.
Yes.
So they obviously get each other on that level of like Natalie enjoys the Sloane that is this controversial, very sexually liberated, outspoken person, whereas Natalie on the face of it is like this primary school art teacher who's very kind of like emotionally not repressed, but you know, she's basically she's not going around saying like I would let him come all over my tits, like, you know, whereas Sloane is.
She's like, Sloane.
Yeah, she's like, let me clutch my pearls.
What a floozy. Yeah,
so anyway, we've got this beautiful representation where Sloane is kind of almost like the voice of Natalie that she maybe wishes she had, or like, you know,
I don't know if it's something she doesn't know she needs, but she definitely needs it. Like so her drawer next to her bed definitely says she already is it, but she's hiding it behind like closed doors.
Yeah, we'll just give the like listeners a little preview of the fact that Natalie has a bedside table
to die for,
log jammed with vibrators and dildos.
Like, I mean, I was literally taking notes. I was like, I need that one. I need that one.
She has got,
clearly I've done something wrong here. Where is my drawer?
She has got everything a woman could require to see herself through 5 years of no sexual contact with another human being. So we kind of, I guess, to fast forward a little bit to when our main characters finally kind of meet and get together, we discover that Tage, who has up until now been very brusque and reserved and dare we say grumpy, maybe even possibly rude to our wonderful, soft, sweet Natalie. We discover that he in fact is her next door neighbor who has wandered up to her previous neighbors with a briefcase of cash and purchased their house. And basically they have turned around and gone, sweet, place is yours. You move on in. And Natalie, living in her little hermit shell, has not noticed any of this transpiring in her very presumably affluent neighborhood from the sound of it, right? Like I think her previous like hubby to be was they lived a reasonably frugal life, but I think, you know, they were doing well.
I want to mention on that as well, like you've mentioned the duality between like a Sloane and Nat. I feel like there's a beautiful duality that she plays with between Cage and David as well. Like David being the very
that's his name. That's what his name was. David shall not be named.
Ew, David. Ew, David. Like I can't look at David the same. And that thing came up in the beginning of the book. I was like, ew, David. And then I was like, oh, shame, we can't say ew, David. That's mean. And by the end of the book, I'm like, ew, David.
Yeah. No, David deserves
all the fucking way.
Every scathing look he gets. This book.
But yeah, the duality between them is so great. I mean, they must be very, very good looking guys, but she plays it so well in the sense of this. She uses the word undomesticated for Cage, and I'm just like, that's perfect. This undomesticated energy, whereas David's very much this put together, very calm, cool, and collected, and then Cage is undomesticated. It's just like, yes, that duality is perfect on that scale that we're looking at them. And I don't know where I was going with that. Which of course
translates beautifully into the sexual aspects of her connection with both of these men, because David, was basically missionary with the lights off.
Yes. And she thought that was all her as well.
On a
On a
schedule.
schedule.
I think Natalie even talks about the fact that unless they like fucking penciled it in the diaries, like ages in advance, like there was no spontaneity, there was no exploration, there was no conversation. It was just like, let's book it in for like Tuesday night next week. Kind of very, very, I almost want to say like
calculated. He's an accountant, like, and that's it's calculated.
Whereas we have Cage, who is holy fucking shit.
Raw
like he
unfiltered.
He is kinky, he is wild, he is very outspoken and demanding, and also is very much infatuated with Natalie from the word go, and isn't shy about coming forward and telling her exactly what he thinks of Natalie.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful way to describe the way she awakens as well through this entire journey. Like, so she starts off thinking that obviously missionary with the lights off is perfectly okay and it's normal and it's fine, and it is. It's definitely fine until you meet Cage and you sleep with Cage and you experience Cage, and then you're like, that is not okay. Well, let's
like even rewind that, and like it's like sitting down and accidentally having dinner with Cage is like all she needs for her sexual liberation to commence. Because
I've got a quote here. She literally says, "Whoa, that was my stomach dropping."
What was that? Which was the quote? Sorry, I was like talking over the top of you.
I think I was talking over the top of you. This is how excited we are.
This is our like WhatsApp chat in real time now. Just us basically screaming at each other about this book.
She literally says at the table, "Whoa, that was my stomach dropping."
Yeah. So to set the context of this scene is that after this whole Cage coming across as a very like grumpy asshole, rude man, she decides that she's going to, I think it's her birthday, is it? She takes herself out for dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's around about the time of the anniversary of David disappearing. David disappearing. And so she takes herself out for a nice dinner, gets all dressed up, gets all dolled up. And of course, who should be sitting on the other side of the restaurant, also dining alone, is Cage. And he straight away sends the waiter over and says, tell that woman to come and sit with me, kind of situation. So there is no like, would you like to? It's just like, you
have been summoned.
You have been summoned. Yeah. And she kind of, I think there's probably, I can't remember what the inner monologue is, but I think there's something along the lines of like, I shouldn't do this. I'm going to do this, and I don't know
why am I doing this? It's like this magnetism.
And I think he proceeds to the words are like not even coming, because he basically proceeds to tell her exactly what he would like to do. With her, on her, around her.
But she's thinking it. It's not like he says it before she says it. He literally says, so this is the baseball size hand shaking thing. So he says, I think we got off on the wrong foot. Let's start over. And in her mind, she's saying, oh, look, he's being reasonable. I wonder which personality this is. Because he's like, at one point, he's like all sexual and desiring. And then the next minute, he's being all hostile and weird. So she's like, who is this guy? And what the hell is wrong with him? So he sticks out his baseball mitt of a hand. Hi, I'm Cage. Nice to meet you. Feeling like I'm in an alternative universe, I slip my hand into his, then doubt I'll ever get it back because it's lost somewhere inside his warm, rough, gargantuan palm. And then she thinks, what would it be like to have these hands on my naked body?
What would it be like, Natalie?
What would it be like? I will never be the same after this book.
These books have rewired our collective brains.
And we haven't even got to the good stuff yet. And I'm like,
I know. So Where should we jump to next in this chaotic recollection of the wild awakening this book is?
Okay, let's jump
who...
to some hot scenes. I've got one in front of me, so let's just go there. So I think one of the themes in this book is, again,
we know that, like, no spoilers, these two end
there's
up.
no spoilers. Yeah, we're just going to give you some hot scenes now, because we'll get you drooling, get you in a puddle, and then you'll run off to buy it because you're going to need this in your life. But I think one of the themes about this book is, again, another of my favorite is that animalistic vibe, and it's the dom stuff, but this primal animalistic, like, I don't have words. Like, all I can say is yeah. So there's this energy that Nat's a little bit of a brat, and she's got a real good sense of sarcastic humor, which I absolutely love. And when she does this, he obviously loves it, but he's also like, not happy about it in some very fun ways.
Well, I feel like, can I interject here for a moment?
Yes.
And probably like a vital piece of information we need to tell our audience before we get into this is that our dear darling Cage is virtually the head of the Mafia.
Oh yes, that's probably important.
Mafia. Like, we probably need to set the tone of, like, who Cage is and what he actually does. Whereas the reason we kind of have overlooked it is because Natalie doesn't actually know. Like, she is kept in the dark. So we as readers kind of see a lot of it from her perspective of, she doesn't actually know. She knows he's dangerous. She knows you can see he's a criminal of some sort. Yeah, like he's wandering around with briefcases of money enough to, like, buy a house in cash. So she knows there is something weird going on here. She knows he is kind of above the law in a very organized crime kind of way. He's not out robbing stores for cash. He's like controlling.
He's the big boy.
Yeah. So
in all the ways.
She knows this, but to give you the insight, Cage is virtually the head of the Russian Mafia based out of New York. And so he is very much, I guess, how could we say, he's a man who's used to being in a position of power, and he's a man who's used to being in a position of what I say goes. Yeah, like, people do not question him. People do not talk back to him. People like basically kissing his fucking pinky finger wherever he goes.
When you hear his name, you quiver in your
head. Yeah. He's known as kind of like is it the Reaper, I think is his name? Yes. Like he is known as someone that, like, you basically never want to hear his name come up in conversation, because it basically means that you are out of it, gone.
Or worse.
So when we have these situations where they are finally getting it
conversing,
getting it on, we've got a very interesting power dynamic, because Cage is someone who is in control in all facets and areas and aspects of his life. And yet for Natalie, he is not only, I guess, educating her on power and control and dynamics and conversations within the bedroom. He's very adept at conversation in the bedroom, and also shows quite a
soft side.
Yeah, interesting soft side for the fact that he is happy to give up power in certain situations for our darling little Natalie. So
this is a taster of what we're talking about. So on his lips appears that faint approximation of a smile. I've already told you, I'm not a knight in shining armor. And she says, there's miles between that and what I asked. And he growls, interrupt me again, and I'll take you over my knee right here and spank that perfect ass of yours until you're screaming.
And I think that was the point that Nicole was in my WhatsApp messages screaming.
And then again and again and again and again and again, the entire book.
So
I was reading this on a Sunday, especially like towards the end, when I was reading this on a Sunday while my family was playing, and I couldn't put it down. I could not put it down, and they were watching TV. and it was like rainy and it was beautiful, and I was like curled up on my beanbag reading it, and I was like, I have to stop reading this, because if I don't stop, we're going to have a problem. Like my family is in the next room. I need to stop reading this. And I had to like peel myself away from that point in the book. And I just had to break it off halfway through and have to go like, I don't know, stand out in the cold or something in the rain to like cool down.
Have to go return to like normal life. We like go cold turkey.
Thank goodness I wasn't
book.
reading that at work.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous.
So we have the two coming together in this way that essentially then morphs into a relationship of sorts. We have another situationship on our
situationship
where kind of their agreement they come to is that they admit both have got quite substantial feelings for one another. However, for this to work between them, Cage has basically informed Natalie that he can't tell her anything.
But she does find out that he is part of the mafia, so he's quite honest with her in a lot of aspects, but not too honest. And she's agreed to that, and also said, okay, well, don't tell me anything that's gonna make me not be happy with you. So be as honest as you can, but like you can keep secrets. I'm fine with that, because I just want to be happy. I just want to soak all this goodness in.
Just don't lie to me, because I think
don't lie to me and don't leave me.
She's vulnerable after what happened with you, David. So she's just saying, look, I understand there are secrets that you have to keep me safe. So therefore, she kind of agrees to this strange situationship where he more or less has to live a life off doing mafia man things, and he has to keep her hidden away in this location. Now, there is another whole layer to this that we are not going to spoiler for.
No, we can't spoil it.
We can't spoil that because it is so integral to the book. So all we will say is that there are other layers and ramifications and secrets associated with that.
Lots of twists and turns that keep
that
you
whole situationship going on. And basically we have a relationship that grows between them where Cage,
it's beautiful.
Cage more and more realizes that the only thing that actually matters to him is this person who he has basically had to leave behind for massive stretches of time. You know, it's like weeks go by and she hasn't heard from him. Not she hasn't heard from him as in he's ghosted her, but as in he's just genuinely so busy with what he's doing that if she will try and reach out to him or text him or something, he's like we see that he's so over the moon to hear from her. He's so like overcome with sort of I think there's a beautiful moment. Well, I don't know if we could call it a beautiful moment. I think he's like in the middle of fucking torturing someone, and he hears his phone go off in his pocket, and we get the like inner monologue of him being like, I really fucking hope that's a text from her. And like he's literally in the middle of being like badass mafia man doing badass mafia things, dodgy fucking Molly Gray, like
and he's just like, oh,
and he's like, I really hope it's my girlfriend texting me.
It's like, oh, she misses me. Oh, I feel so nice now.
Which is just like so
the softie, the big softie,
swoony, and really is what I guess gives us that side of
the morally gray
character that we fall in love with, because you know, we're not only seeing the hot raw animalistic like fucking dom, like, you know, take you
There's
over
so much more to it.
There is there is the soft squishy marshmallow that is going on, and we could probably say he falls first. I would say
100%. I think it was like love at first sight, because he's actually he's
Natalie
actually
was like
assassin. He was supposed to be her assassin, and he's not anymore. He's now like almost like wanting to just be with her forever. But I just found another real quote here around his description, just so we can, because we're not going to stop about Cage. And it says, we stare at each other until I regain my senses and invite him in out of the snow. I close the door behind him. He makes the room feel crowded because he's just so big. I wonder if he has to custom order all his furniture and clothes and condoms.
I love that it's like furniture, clothes, and
Clothes,
then
condoms. Like you can
yeah.
see where her mind was. She was like, where could we do it? On the furniture. We should take off our clothes.
Like you
Oh,
don't
how
fit in
big
my
does his
house.
condoms need to be?
You don't fit in my house. Are you going to fit in my vagina? Like, what is going on here?
What is happening?
It's so fucking good. And yeah, so obviously we don't want to spoiler things for those of you who haven't read, but what we can say is happily ever after guaranteed. Like this is Nicole and I's vibe with books. We are not going to bring you books that are going to like rip your heart to shreds. It might on the way. There might be like twists and turns, journey on the way. But what we thought we would kind of preview is it's not spoilering the ending of Natalie and Cage's story, but it does preview into book 2, which is Sloane's book. We promised we would return back to Sloane because she is a bit of a scene stealer in this book, and hence she obviously has her whole own book that comes in book 2, which Jesus fucking Christ, like
I can't wait. I've got like 20 minutes of this book left, which I'm going to read straight after this episode, and then I'm diving into Sloane.
Yeah,
like
actually,
100%.
that's something that we were talking about before we jumped on to record. That I was like, Nicole was saying, she's like, I haven't actually finished this book yet, and so we were talking about whether I would tell her like, you know, all the goss or whatever, or whether how much we would talk about on the episode. But so Nicole still has the big like sort of surprise twists and turns to go herself.
Yeah, Ellie Rose has literally got all her voice notes in my WhatsApp with like big in
I'm
bold
like,
spoiler, do not listen unless you do not want to. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to listen. I'm going to see what, and then I'm like, no, I've just got 20 minutes left. I'm going to read it and then I'll listen to what she says.
So we essentially end up with the preview to the opening of Sloane's book is that Sloane arrives to see Natalie. And in the process of arriving to see Natalie is herself dragged out of a car and kidnapped by a whole lot of Irish mafia. So up until this point, we have been in the world of the Russian mafia with Cage. We've heard about the Irish mafia because we've had a little altercation with them during the course of Cage and Natalie's book, which Sloane was involved with. And in the setup for Sloane's book, she is taken from a car by Irish mafia. And as she is kind of pulled out of the car and essentially like cracks her head on the concrete and like is very roughly manhandled, but in a very Sloane way, she's just kind of like, you know,
I got this.
I got this, very just kind of still smart ass, like very smart mouth. Happens to notice the most beautiful pair of blue eyes staring down at her.
I'm going to get into this tonight.
And let me just say that Sloane's book 2, once you get to the end of Cage and Natalie's book, like, please do continue to read the Queens of Monsters series because you will not fucking regret it at all. And I feel like we are going to end up coming back around to.
We're going to have to come back.
We are going to have to come back and do more on this series because it's so good. And
you and I were chuckling as well around Slows. Yeah, tell me about Slow.
What I will say as well is that as much as I am like forever obsessed with Cage and Natalie and Sloane's book, book 3 for me is like my absolute favorite series.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to read even more.
But it's just one of these series that just keeps getting better and better and better. And like,
oh my gosh, that's so good to know though.
Where it's at, like
that's so good to know because it's quite heartbreaking when the book 1 is the best and then it kind of goes downhill from there. And like when it can just keep that energy or even make it even more intense, I'm like, yes, thank you, because that's just brilliant. But you and I were laughing today about Sloane and the possibilities of Sloane because she's one of those people, and we always laugh at these people in the books, and it happens almost every time that there's this one person that's like, I'm never gonna fall in love. It's just not for me. I'm not interested. Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa. And then we're always like, he. We know it's gonna happen. So this is what she says.
This is
Sloane,
Sloane in
this
book
is
one.
Sloane.
This is
Yes.
Sloane in book one being Natalie's bestie. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's still a side character, but oh my gosh, just like Rowan is not just a side character in your book. It's
Oh, in my
like
book,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, in your book. Sloane is not just a secondary character. She's
No.
so she's got big dick energy, let's just be honest. So she says, Sloane notices the look on my face. Babe, you just went white. And Nat says, I'm still trying to adjust to my new normal. Sloane says, love's a bitch, which is why I'll never have anything to do with it. And then Nat says, life has a funny way of making you eat your words, girlfriend. And she shakes her head. There's not a man on this planet who could make me fall in love with him. Trust me. I've got a lot of experience in that department. And Nat says, oh, I know and I also know that your match is out there somewhere. You just haven't met him. I want to meet him.
And when you meet him, holy fucking hell. Like, holy fucking hell when you meet him.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like I feel like JT Geissinger has just like rendered me speechless and like inadequate with my words to do it justice to the brilliance of her books and her writing and her characters and all of the things that go into this. Because we've got Mafia, but we also have, like you said at the start, we've got so much humor, we've got kink, we've got sexual liberation, we've got
sexual liberation.
Sexual liberation, not only for the characters within the books themselves, but I can guarantee for you as a reader as well, like
all the readers.
I really love, I can't remember where I saw JT Geisinger put this in like one of her things, but it is, I think it's on her social media somewhere, that she said she's had so many messages from readers just basically, you know, telling her what her books have done for them.
I mean, I will just lay it hands down, best sex I've ever had in my entire life. After reading some of the scenes in this book.
After reading this book, I think she said something like, I think it might actually be in the acknowledgements. That's right. I think it's in the acknowledgements for this book that she says that she really should change her bio to like in the public sector or like in public service or something. Because like
I agree.
That is how many messages she has received about all of the just absolute delicious,
like changing women forever from missionary position to not missionary position.
which is part of our kind of wrap up character swoon moment here that we love to get into, is I think that's actually one of Natalie's lines in this book, and it really stuck with me because I think she talks about how something like her idea of kink was missionary with the lights on.
With the lights on.
You know, it's like missionary but with the lights on. Like that's as kinky as I get. And then of course we have Cage, who is like fucking pulling out the toys and
tying her up
and spanking and like we've got all the holes, all the play, all the
It's just, and you know what I think is beautiful about this as well is just in case you've never experienced all of that kind of stuff as well, she literally takes you on the journey from where Natalie was with missionary position and the lights on,
like
entire really slow process in helping you experience it through Natalie for the first time ever, not
like
getting you right in from the beginning. Because it could be quite scary, right?
Yeah. And you've got somebody who, in a partner, is very good at talking her through things and explaining. And actually, that's a really good point you raised there, is that he, you know, Cage being Cage, is very good at encouraging her to communicate
communication,
where she's at. So he uses the traffic light system that he's like, you know, red is like, you say red and we stop, like absolutely hard stop, like we will not go any further. If it's a yellow, it means like just woe back, buddy.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure. I am not sure. I just need time to process.
Yeah.
And green is like, fuck yes, this is
Yeah.
very,
And Natalie's
very
like
much,
green.
a very,
Green.
a very
Green.
enthusiastic, yes. And I love, I think this was also like Nicole coming into what's our chat being
The color
like?
green will never ever be the same for me.
Green fucking flashing lights all around. And basically that is Natalie's vibe through this book. Is that I think we have one moment of yellow, but we have a whole lot of
there's a lot of green, which is
on.
fantastic. She's like green. I'll try anything once. Go green. Go green.
We are green all the way. Green lights all the way, buddy.
It's beautiful though, because the way they build their characters as well, with that trust, and that it just even slowly with the way he's communicating, saying I'll never lie to you, and all of that kind of stuff, building it slowly into that point where she can trust him enough to say green, and then say green again, and then be like, okay, I'm like letting you tie me up now, I'm letting you do these things to me, eventually letting you spank the hell out of me, and just
which was actually a no at the start, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was like, no, I will never let you do that.
Yeah, and I think her clause was, the only time I would ever let you do that to me is if you let me do it to you. And he was,
and it was a joke.
Ooh. He was like, oh, power control, Mafia head. Was like, okay,
yeah,
we'll put that to one side.
We'll table that for just a moment.
We'll table the spanking.
It's just brilliant. Like if you're not sold on this book yet, I don't know what more we can say without spoiling it. I don't know what more
cackling and like raving we could do to convince you to read this book. Like, yeah.
The only thing I will say is it will change your whole life. It will change your life.
Get your notebook out. Get like your screenshots ready to send to your partner.
Screenshot your favorite parts for us, because please, we will tag us and we will put them on the interwebs. We want to see your favorite parts.
It's just it is a glorious book. As I say, JT Geissinger, you're a fucking genius.
You are.
You've left me speechless, flushed,
screaming. Green.
Obsessed with morally grey Mafia men, even more than I was before. You know, like,
I didn't think I'd be into the Mafia, but I'm definitely like, I want to be a Mafia girlfriend right now. I'm here for the taking. Take me, please.
Yeah, like just adopt me into your world and your fictional world, and we'll figure out all the rest later.
Yeah, 100%. I'm game.
So is there any last character swooning moments that we really want to get into? What a final word of why we're obsessed, I think, is and we're about at our peak raving for this episode. Why are you obsessed, Nicole? Let's just give us the Nicole wrap up of #obsessed.
#obsessed.
#obsessed. She's if you're listening along, Nicole is frantically scrolling through all of her like million screenshots right now, trying to find.
I don't even know if I can say this out loud, but I'm going to, because it's like we haven't even got this deep, but we have to, because the line at the end of this is just pure magic. So is everyone sitting down? Because you need to be sitting down for this. Cross your legs, women.
Take the microphone, Nicole.
Okay. He goes from teasing to smoldering in the blink of an eye, growling, I'd rather be pulling your hair as I fuck that delicious cunt of yours again. My God, the way he talks. This man is the Shakespeare of smut. Mic drop. Mic drop.
Shakespeare of smut.
This Shakespeare of smut. That is all.
I think, ladies and gents, that is our summation of this episode, this rambling, this ranting, this screaming at you to go and read Queens and Monsters series by JT Geissinger, Ruthless Creatures, fall in love with Cage, as Nicole and I have, the Shakespeare of smut himself. And what an episode, what a ride, what a book. I'm so excited for you to finish this book and get into book 2, Nicole, because then I can
screenshotting more and screaming at you. More purple emojis and water droplets emojis are coming your way, Rose.
Continue screaming at you in our DMs about these books. I am so excited to dive into our next book, which we will announce in due course. And if you're listening to this in the future, it'll be linked up in the show notes with this episode, of course. So you can just roll straight on to the next into the next lot of chaos of us reviewing and recommending our favorite spicy reads for you. So thank you as always, my darling Nicole. If you want to connect with us, Successful Witches is at successful.witches in all the places. We are on Spotify, we are on Apple, we are on YouTube. I am
all of the places.
I'm an Elliot Rose author in all of the places. We have our beautiful, wonderful guest host with me for these episodes at Nicole fucking Middleton, of course. Radiant as always, delightful as always.
Right back at you, beautiful.
I just love this so much. Thank you for joining me, my darling. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Our dear listeners, and if you're watching along, thank you. Make sure to follow, make sure to share, make sure to come along and DM us and tell us how much you screamed about this book. We are so here for it.
I want to see everybody's like comments that just say green.
All the way. Thank you, my darlings. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.